Okay, so have you ever noticed how getting ready for a job interview can feel a lot like prepping for some kind of big game?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your heart starts to, you're running through like all the plays in your head, or
Yeah.
that all of that. But instead of like trying to get that slam dunk,
Right.
you're aiming for that. You're hired,
Exactly. Yeah.
especially in a field like physiotherapy where it's all about, people's well-being.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head.
Right.
That human element really adds another layer to it.
Totally. So today we are diving deep into how to absolutely crush it in those physiotherapy interviews.
Nice.
We're going to be using RoleCatcher's awesome resources. Think like their career guides, AI-powered resume builders, all that good stuff to help you really, really shine.
And it's a career worth prepping for. Did you know that the Bureau of Labor Statistics actually predicts a pretty big, like 18% job growth for physiotherapists
Wow.
between 2019 and 2029?
Seriously, that's huge.
Yeah.
Okay, so for anyone who's listening who maybe is like just starting to think about physiotherapy, could you give us a little rundown of what the job actually is?
Yeah. So imagine being that guide, that person who helps people regain their movement and their physical function after they've had like an injury, a surgery, or maybe they're dealing with an illness. So that's physiotherapy kind of in a nutshell.
Right.
You'd be working directly with these patients, developing plans for them, their treatment plans, and helping them to regain their strength, their mobility, and just become independent again.
Okay, so let's say you're in that interview room and you're sitting across from the hiring manager and they ask you, describe your experience working with patients who've had a stroke.
Okay.
What are they really wanting to hear when they ask that question?
So it's about really seeing if you can grasp the impact of a stroke. And it's not always just physical, right? It
Right.
affects people emotionally and mentally.
Absolutely.
So they want to know how you would tailor rehab to meet like everybody's needs, like each person's needs and their goals. Have you used, assistive devices?
Okay.
Worked on cognitive exercises? You want to give them specifics.
So like instead of just saying, I've used manual therapy, you'd want to say something like, I use gentle hands-on techniques to help a patient get their range of motion back in their arm so that they could get dressed again. Something like that.
Exactly. Paint that picture of how you use your skills to actually make real-life progress for these patients.
Okay.
And think about those follow-up questions they might ask.
Yeah.
Like they might say, what was your biggest challenge when you were working with stroke patients?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right.
Okay, so kind of switching gears from stroke recovery. Chronic pain is another big one for physiotherapists.
Big time.
What if they ask, how do you approach making those treatment plans for patients dealing with chronic pain?
So this is where you really want to show them that you see the whole person,
Okay.
not just their pain.
Right.
Chronic pain, it can come from physical reasons, psychological, even social factors.
Oh.
So if you mention that you understand the biopsychosocial model of pain, it will show them that you're really thinking about it critically.
So instead of like immediately jumping into like ultrasound therapy is a way to go, you talk about how you first assess their pain level, their lifestyle, their mental health, all of it.
You could say something like, I use different kinds of pain assessment tools like visual analog scales, questionnaires, that kind of thing to get a complete picture. And then you can transition into talking about how you would treat them.
And that's actually where RoleCatcher's AI feedback can really come in handy.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Because their AI will look at those practice answers and it'll point out things like if you're using too much jargon or you need to give a more specific example of how you'd actually tailor that treatment plan for somebody.
It really is like having a virtual coach in your back pocket to help you fine-tune those answers and give them the biggest impact.
I love that, a virtual coach in your pocket. Okay, so back to those interview questions. A big one, especially since, we've got a growing population of older adults, is how would you work with an older adult who has mobility issues?
Okay.
So they might ask, what's your experience working with older adults who have mobility issues?
Right.
What are they hoping to hear when they ask that?
They want to know that you have empathy and that you understand the unique challenges that come with aging.
Okay.
They'll want to know that you feel good about, changing how you communicate and your treatment plans for someone who maybe is hard of hearing or has some cognitive changes or is dealing with a bunch of different health conditions at the same time.
Right, you could have all the textbook knowledge in the world, but if you can't connect with, like, an 80-year-old who's terrified of falling, it's
Exactly.
not going to be very helpful.
It's not. And don't be afraid to get specific.
Okay.
Mention courses that you've taken, like maybe you've taken geriatric physiotherapy
Right.
or techniques you've learned that address, aging, like arthritis or balance disorders.
Right. So it's really about showing them that you're not just an expert in movement, but that you've got the compassion and the communication skills to work with all different kinds of people.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, now let's talk about a different situation, working with patients after they've had surgery.
Okay.
So they ask, how do you work with people who are recovering from surgery?
Okay.
What should you really focus on when you're answering that one?
You really want to show them that you understand the recovery process
Okay.
and that you're able to make a plan just for them.
Okay.
They'll be looking to see that you get that post-op care. It can be really different depending on the surgery, the patient's health overall, and what their goals are.
So you might talk about how you would check their range of motion, their pain levels, if there are any possible complications, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you'd also want to mention your experience with, different types of post-op exercises, pain management techniques, things like assistive devices.
And this is another one of those times where it's really good to have a specific example ready to go.
Yes, 100%.
Like, I worked with this patient who was recovering from a knee replacement, and we started with just some gentle range of motion exercises and then slowly started doing strengthening exercises so that they could walk on their own again.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, so we've talked about stroke recovery, chronic pain, older adults, post-surgery patients. What about just, like, staying up to date with everything that's always changing in physiotherapy?
Yeah.
They've got to ask about that, right?
Oh, they will.
Yeah.
It's really important to show them that you're always learning.
Okay.
They might ask you something like, how do you stay in the loop with all the latest research and techniques in physiotherapy?
Okay, so is this where you pull out your subscription to, like the Physiotherapy Journal, and mention that international conference you went to?
Well, you could, but what really wows them is when you can show how your learning actually connects to what you do.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So instead of just like name dropping a journal article, I might say something like, I recently read this study about a new manual therapy technique for plantar fasciitis, and I've actually started using it with my patients, and it's getting really great results.
Now you're talking. That shows you're not just reading stuff, you're actually trying to get better at what you do to help your patients.
Yeah.
For sure.
So we've talked about always learning, but what about showing them that you're really passionate about a certain area, like sports physiotherapy?
Yeah, so that's where they might ask something like, tell me about your experience working with patients who have sports injuries.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is where you get to show them that you're not just, playing sports on the weekends.
Right.
You really get it, like the demands of different sports and how athletes think.
Exactly. You want to be ready to talk about common sports injuries, how you figure out what's wrong,
Right.
and your approach to treating them
Mhm.
and getting them back in the game. They want to know you can help them recover and that you can help them not get hurt again.
Which, let's be real, athletes, they want to get back to playing as fast as they can.
Yes.
They're not trying to sit on the sidelines.
Exactly. So if you can talk about your experience with athletes, maybe you've volunteered at a marathon or you interned with a college sports team,
Okay.
that can make you stand out.
So it's all about showing them that you can, speak their language, you get what they want to achieve,
Yeah.
and that you can help them play their best.
It all comes back to connecting your love for physiotherapy to their needs.
Okay, so we have covered a ton of information here. We talked about those specific interview questions, why it's important to really showcase your skills and what you've learned, and how to stay up to date in physiotherapy.
And remember all of those AI-powered tools that RoleCatcher has?
Yes.
They can really help you with this.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
Their resume builder can help you make a resume that really highlights the best parts of what you've done and what you know,
Yes.
so that those employers, they see it.
For sure.
And then their AI feedback for interview questions, it can help you come up with answers that really grab them and show them just how passionate you are about physiotherapy.
It's like having a career coach right there on your phone,
Yeah, they'll love it.
helping you every step of the way.
It's amazing how much technology is changing how we find jobs these days. It's incredible.
It really is. And speaking of things that can be game changers, let's talk about the future of physiotherapy.
Okay.
It's a field that never sits still.
Right.
And there are some trends popping up that I'm really excited about.
Okay, so put on your future predicting hats, everyone.
Right.
Where do you see physiotherapy going in the next, 5 years? What really gets you fired up?
One word. Prevention.
Okay.
I think we're going to see a big change in how we think about healthcare, moving more towards preventing problems. Physiotherapists are going to be more involved in helping people stay healthy,
Okay.
not just fixing them after they get hurt.
So kind of like being health coaches in a way.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine them like working in offices, schools, community centers, teaching people about how to move, right?
Right.
Avoiding injuries, that kind of thing.
I love that, giving people the tools to take care of their own bodies.
Yes. And technology is going to be a big part of that.
Okay.
We're already seeing things like those watches that track your steps,
Right.
how well you sleep, even how you stand.
It's like having like a tiny little personal trainer on your wrist all the time.
Exactly. And as this tech gets even better,
Yeah.
I think it'll give us personalized advice to prevent injuries from happening.
That's amazing, like taking all the knowledge that physiotherapists have
Yeah.
and sharing it with everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just about preventing problems either.
Right.
We're going to see some awesome advancements in how we treat people too.
Okay. What kind of advancements? Give us a sneak peek.
Well, we've already talked about virtual reality a bit, and telehealth. Both of those could completely change physiotherapy.
All right. Like imagine doing your exercises at home,
Right.
but you've got a virtual therapist right there guiding you.
Exactly. And with telehealth, people who live far away from hospitals or can't leave their homes easily can still get the same quality of care.
It's like we're breaking down walls and make sure everyone can get the help they need.
Yes, that's the goal.
Okay.
And I think artificial intelligence is going to become a big deal in physiotherapy too.
AI and physiotherapy, how does that work?
So picture this. AI that can analyze how you move,
Okay.
spot weaknesses, imbalances, and even create a workout routine just for you.
It's like having a whole team of invisible physiotherapists working on you.
Right. And it can track your progress, spot any warning signs, even maybe predict if you're at risk of getting hurt again.
So it takes the guesswork out of recovery.
Exactly. That's what's so cool about where physiotherapy is headed.
Yeah.
Using technology to get people better results, improve their lives, and help them be as healthy and active as they can be.
It sounds like it's a pretty awesome time to be in this field.
It is.
So we've talked about acing those interview questions, asking our own thoughtful questions. But let's be real for a second. Physiotherapy isn't always easy.
Right.
It can be demanding, both physically and mentally.
Yeah.
What are some of the tough things that people going into this field should be ready for?
You're right. It's rewarding, but it's not always sunshine and roses.
Okay.
One of the biggest challenges is something called compassion fatigue.
Compassion fatigue, what's that?
It's when you're around people who are suffering all the time, which is kind of the name of the game in healthcare, and you get emotionally and physically exhausted.
Oh, okay. So you're working with people who are in pain, dealing with injuries, illnesses. They might be frustrated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's natural to feel for them, but you have to set boundaries and take care of yourself too. Otherwise, you'll burn out and won't be able to be there for your patients the way you want to.
So how can new physiotherapists avoid that compassion fatigue?
Self-care is so important. It's not being selfish, it's essential.
Right.
Make time for things you enjoy, whether it's working out, being in nature, reading a book, or just hanging out with people you care about.
Right.
And don't be afraid to talk to a therapist if you need to. It can be really helpful for processing your emotions, learning how to cope, and avoiding burnout.
It's like they say, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. You have to take care of yourself so you can take care of others.
Okay, so self-care is key. What other challenges should people be aware of?
Well, healthcare is always changing. New tech, new research, new treatments are always popping up.
So you're always learning and adapting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And while that can be exciting for some, it can also be tough.
Right, but that's also what keeps things interesting, right?
It definitely does. And that's why it's so important to find a workplace that supports you.
Right.
Somewhere that offers continuing education.
Right.
You want to be surrounded by people who are just as passionate about learning as you are.
Okay, so embrace the challenge, always be curious, and never stop learning.
Yes.
Now, let's flip that around and talk about why people love being physiotherapists.
Oh, I could talk about that all day.
Because there must be some pretty great perks to this job, right?
Absolutely. For me, it's seeing people get their strength back, their movement, their independence. It's so rewarding to help someone do something they didn't think they could do anymore.
So it's about celebrating those little victories, those moments that make all the tough stuff worth it.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about making a real difference in people's lives. And it's not just physical.
Right.
It's emotional and mental, too.
Because pain can really weigh you down. both physically and emotionally.
It really can.
Yeah.
When you help someone manage their pain, you're not just helping their body, you're often helping them enjoy their life more.
Giving them back their freedom, their confidence.
Yes, exactly.
That's amazing.
It really is.
Okay, before we move on, I want to touch on RoleCatcher again. We've talked about how great a physiotherapy career can be, but actually landing that job is a whole other thing.
It is.
And that's where RoleCatcher can really make a difference.
For sure. Their resume builder helps you create a resume that showcases your best skills and experience in a way that catches the eye of employers.
Yeah.
And their AI feedback for interview questions helps you craft answers that show how much you love physiotherapy and why you're the perfect fit for the job.
It's like having a career coach right in your pocket, guiding you every step of the way.
Exactly.
Okay.
They even have a feature that helps you research potential employers.
Oh, cool.
Giving you insight into their culture, values, and what they stand for.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's all about empowering you to take charge of your career and make good choices about your future.
I love that.
Yeah.
It really is amazing how technology is changing the game for job seekers in every field, really.
It's true. And speaking of game changers, let's talk about the future of physiotherapy itself. It's a field that's constantly evolving, and I'm really excited about some of the trends we're seeing emerge.
Okay, so put on your futurology hats, everyone. Where do you see physiotherapy heading in the next 5 years? What gets you fired up?
One word: prevention.
Okay.
I think we'll see a big shift towards preventative care, with physiotherapists playing a more active role in promoting health and wellness, not just treating injuries after they happen.
So more like health coaches in a way.
Exactly.
Right.
Imagine physiotherapists working in workplaces, schools, and community centers, educating people about ergonomics, injury prevention, and healthy movement patterns.
I love that. It's about empowering people to take charge of their own physical well-being.
Absolutely, and I think technology will play a huge role in this shift towards prevention.
Right.
We're already seeing the rise of wearable sensors that track activity levels, sleep patterns, and even posture.
It's like having a personal trainer on your wrist 24/7.
Exactly.
Wow.
And as this technology becomes even more sophisticated, I think we'll see it being used to provide personalized feedback and guidance to help people stay healthy and prevent injuries before they even occur.
That's incredible. It's like taking all that amazing knowledge and expertise that physiotherapists have and making it accessible to everyone.
Precisely.
Okay.
And it's not just about prevention.
Right.
I think we'll also see some incredible advancements in treatment approaches.
Okay, give us a sneak peek. What kind of advancements are we talking about?
Well, we've already touched on virtual reality and telehealth, both of which have the potential to revolutionize how physiotherapy is delivered.
Right. Imagine being able to do your rehab exercises from the comfort of your own home, guided by a virtual therapist.
Exactly. And with telehealth, people in rural areas or those with limited mobility could have access to the same level of care as those in urban centers.
That's amazing. It's about breaking down barriers and making quality healthcare accessible to everyone.
Precisely. And I think we'll also see artificial intelligence playing a bigger role in physiotherapy.
AI. In
Yeah.
physiotherapy, how would that work?
Imagine AI-powered systems that can analyze a patient's movement patterns, identify potential areas of weakness or imbalance, and even develop personalized exercise programs tailored to their specific needs and goals.
Wow, it's like having a team of invisible physiotherapists working behind the scenes, optimizing your recovery every step of the way.
Exactly.
I know.
And AI could also be used to track patient progress more effectively, identify potential red flags, and even predict the risk of future injuries.
It's like taking all the guesswork out of rehab and recovery.
Exactly. And that's what excites me most about the future of physiotherapy.
Yeah.
The potential to use technology and innovation to improve patient outcomes, enhance quality of life, and empower people to live their healthiest, most active lives.
It really is an incredibly exciting time to be in this field.
It is.
Well, on that note of excitement and endless possibility, we're going to wrap up this deep dive into the world of physiotherapy interviews.
Remember, preparation builds confidence. And with the right tools and insights like those from RoleCatcher, you can showcase your skills, your experience, and your passion for physiotherapy and land that dream job.
Exactly. So go out there, ace those interviews, and embrace the incredible journey that lies ahead.
Yes.
And remember, the future of physiotherapy is what we make it.
That's right.
So let's make it amazing. Until next time.